Thanks so much, Katie. Good afternoon, everyone. As Katie mentioned, I'm a product designer, a footwear designer, soft goods designer. I'm the co-founder of a studio called Alamanac. And at Alamanac, we help people make products, right? And when we're making products, we're engaging with the product development cycle. And I'm sure you guys are quite familiar with the product development cycle. And how this kind of operates is that we make something, we move through the process of producing it, we learn, and then we make more things, right? And in that process, we've started to learn across in a bit of reflection that there's another cycle that's starting to show up in the most exciting projects that we're working on. And we call that the virtuous cycle. And so today I'm going to share with you guys 4 different virtuous cycles, 4 projects that we're working on, and how those virtuous cycles show up. And maybe you guys can kind of start to reflect on that and see some virtuous cycles showing up in your own work and see how you can cultivate them in the projects that you guys are working on. So the first one here is actually not a shoe, but it's a bag. And I just want to start off up front that this idea of having fun is actually quite central to our process. In the midst of all of these, issues that we're designing against, these problems that we're looking at, I think it's really important for us within our design practice to have a good time while we do it. And so for this first project, it's a reusable plastic tote bag, and it's the idea here, just like any other reusable tote, is to look at the single-use plastic tote bags and create an alternative that people can use over and over again. But obviously, in time, these totes will also wear down. And so with just the foundations and the basics, we knew that we wanted to engage with a very foundational virtuous cycle, right, which is recycling, right? We take these plastics, we break them down, and we turn them into more fabric. Recycling is a magical thing. It's an amazing thing to embrace. As designers, our role comes in really within the patterning, and this is where we really started to see a virtuous cycle show up on our own in this project, is in the pattern. Because you can have an amazing recycling process, but even as you're patterning a bag, there's a lot of waste left on the cutting room floor. And what we did is we actually developed a completely zero waste pattern that uses 100% of the material end to end on the fabric roll. Really, really excited about that. But what we found when we did this is actually we made the most economically efficient bag for our client Dayal. And that got us really excited, because anytime that we can do something that's both sustainable and efficient financially, that's just a huge win that kind of helps this project continue to roll and grow. And that's a really big element of virtuous cycles for us, is these projects that kind of want to take on their own life and grow and turn it into an entire collection of bags. Okay, next, a shoe. But not any normal shoe, right? As Katie mentioned, we're working on a compostable athletic shoe. So all of us have shoes in our lives. We know that inevitably our shoes wear out, especially our athletic shoes, right? We run on them, we work out on them. Over time, about every 3.5 years, we have to get another shoe. So we donate our old shoes. And the issue is that all the shoes that we're running through, right, the lifespan of those materials lasts much, much longer than how long we use them for. And so what we've done is we've actually kind of embraced this element of decay and designed a shoe that is actually created to decompose, right, and operate in sync with the carbon cycle, right? So this is an element of acknowledging a virtuous cycle that's all around us, right? This element of decomposition, right, that's supporting this planet, and we're embracing that through our design process here with the compostable runner. And this actually is the runner itself a year into the decomposing process. That's our shoe right there. Another thing that's happening, another element, right, of these virtuous cycles, is they want to lean on themselves. They're these patterns that want to continue, right? So the same materials that we make these shoes out of want to grow in that same soil, right, that we're feeding with our shoes. We're trying to think about shoes as a plant. It's a headspace and a shift. And again, right, we turn back to the cycle to create more shoes. Okay, another shoe. But this one is different because we can't wear it, right? So this week we released the footwear for the 1X humanoid robot. It's a really exciting project that we've been working on over the last year. And 1X brought us onto the project to design a shoe. But as we've continued to think and work on this problem, we've realized that we're not actually there to design a shoe. It's our job, first and foremost, to design a foot. And it's funny, the more we think about it, we realize, like, the human foot is a great shoe. It's waterproof, it has great grip, has great traction. We can't design a great shoe unless we understand feet first. And what we've learned throughout this process is that really it's about cultivating and creating a dialogue between products that work for the human and for the robot. Because, all of these robots and these technologies need to learn and be receiving guidance from us. These robots don't know how to walk, they don't know how to feel until we give them those ability to do that. And so there's an element of stewardship that we have with regards to teaching these robots how to walk. It's exciting as well because when we think about the robot from the context of a foot, maybe we can also create some more shoes for them as well. And last is a shoe that we all know. It's not a shoe that we designed, but it's a shoe that we've all inherited. There's so many Chuck Taylors around the world, right? And I think it's really important designers get caught up in this obsession with creating the future, but I think it's really important that we take a step back and have this element of pragmatism with regards to all these products that we have around us, right? So yeah, the Chuck Taylor, right? It's the original sneaker, it's classic, it's sturdy. If you guys have ever owned a Chuck Taylor, you know that this shoe, it really wears out almost the same ways every time, right? They last a little bit longer than the average shoe, but there's so many of them. And so we see this obviously both as like a problem and an opportunity within our design practice. And we started to look at where do all these shoes go? There's just so many of them, right? And fortunately, we were introduced to Liz Ricketts in the OR Foundation, and she invited us to Accra, Ghana, to go and see where all these shoes are ending up. And you see shoes washing up on the shore, and it completely shifts your perspective of what a footwear supply chain really is, right? Where our shoes go once they leave our lives. But what we also found were many cobblers all throughout Accra taking these objects and remaking them and rebuilding them and cultivating these amazing shoes. And so the virtuous cycle that we found here was in the dialogue with these cobblers, right? And taking bike tires and turning them into new soles, making Converse easier to put on with the pull tab, simple things like that. Trying it again, making them lighter. We moved to a bike tube, half the weight, great. So this is this process of this dialogue back and forth with the cobblers that, we're never stopping and, continuing to evolve and to improve. And, I think that if we've been able to find these virtuous cycles with objects such as so simple as a shoe, maybe you guys can find them, in your practices as well. And we can learn to observe them in the world around us. We can continue to cultivate them, and they can take on lives of their own. So thank you so much. Appreciate you all.